Hey there guys, JWF1 here and welcome to episode 2 of Antonio Giovinazzi's breakthrough here at the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai. And we start off with some bad news, I'm afraid. Sadly, there is no coverage of practice, as for some reason my PlayStation decided not to record it for some odd reason and decided to delete it whilst in the process of recording it as well. So I do apologise for that, guys. The only reference you're going to actually see of practice is the resource points I managed to collect during practice 3 there. And also just a couple of things as well. In terms of the practice programs, I managed to get most purples and greens, no failures at all, and I do believe that Antonio does actually upgrade something to do with the powertrain. So they're the only things you missed out on, so sadly you ain't going to see that. So for now I'm going to leave you with the resource points they collected from practice, the team's objectives for qualifying, and yeah, we'll then get on with the actual qualifying session here at Shanghai. I do apologise for that.
Hi, just letting you know that we've had the team's expectations through for the upcoming qualifying session.
Welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China. I want to talk briefly about the strategy in these qualifying sessions. Anthony Davidson, how can a driver adjust their approach to gain those critical extra tenths of a second?
Well, qualifying isn't about adjusting your approach necessarily, it's more about trying to repeat a low fuel run that you've practiced prior to this session. You're looking for perfection on the lap, and that's hard to achieve if you're trying something new. There are some variables that can stand in your way, however. Track position or unexpected yellow flags, for example. Coupled with ever-changing track conditions, it's important to be out there at the right moment. But as a driver, you have to try and ignore these distractions and just keep your mind focused on that one perfect lap.
So here we are then for qualifying here in Shanghai, and as you can see it is bright and sunny for this qualifying session, so hopefully it's like that for the rest of the weekend. We're just going to put on our setup for qualifying. We didn't put this on during practice, but there you are. We put it on for qualifying as Antonio Giovinazzi goes out to test out this new setup, and he felt that it actually felt pretty good, just like in Australia, so he's feeling quite comfortable with the car straight away. And as you can see, he has put a lot of fuel on, so Antonio decides that on his out lap he's going to burn quite a lot before he actually do his qualifying run, and also trying to get the heat into the tyres. So now we get to the end of his first of 2 flying laps due to the fact that this is short qualifying. He comes up towards the final corner, breaking down to 4th gear, and then he'll about to flick on the DRS. And where's this going to put him? He's going to put him into P number 3 with that lap. In fact, I couldn't quite see that on the screen, but he's up into P3 with that lap. And now, as you can see, he's back in the garage, and he's actually going to put on a fresh set of tyres, and he's actually going to put some less fuel on. As you can see, one of the parts to his engine has actually gone yellow. The internal combustion engine has actually got a little bit of wear on it. It's gone over 50% and it's yellow, but it's not going to be too much of a concern for Antonio, so he's not really too worried about that at the present moment. So he goes back out for his second flying lap with less fuel than what he had last time, hoping to do a little bit better. And as you can see, according to his delta, he is improving by a lot as he comes around the final corner. As you can see, he's currently in 10th, but where's this going to put him after he does this qualifying lap? It puts him up into 7th place, but as you can see, just a little bit later on he drops back down to 13th. Again, Romain Grosjean out qualifies him in the end, so it's going to be 13th for Giovinazzi. We achieved the qualifying objective, but we didn't beat Romain for a second race in a row. But now we get on to some more bad news, I'm afraid. Sadly, even along with the practice sessions, the first half of the race didn't record for some reason, for the same reason. So sadly, you don't get to see the first 11 laps of the race. All I can tell you is that Antonio actually got a good start from 13th to get up into the top 10, but now on to lap 11 when he's about to make his one and his stop. Again, just like in Australia, he goes for the one-stop strategy, whereas most of the field, including his teammate Romain Grosjean, I believe, is on the two-stop strategy. So yeah, Gio again believes he can make the one-stop strategy work just like he did in Australia. So we're going to cut on to lap 11, and like I said, again, I do apologise for what's happened, but clearly this is problems beyond my control, and I did not want to skip an episode as a result. So we're going to get on to a lap 11 of the race, and again, I do apologise. So here we are then on lap 11 of the race, and as you can see, Giovinazzi has just finished his first stop of the race, his one and only stop I should say, and it is a 2-second stop, so a good stop for him as far as he's concerned, and he's going to rejoin in 13th place behind Sergio Perez. Already we've had 2 retirements in the race, and so just to be aware of that. I don't remember which those retirements are, but I do remember that in the first 11 laps there were 2 retirements. I believe that actually one of them was in fact a McLaren, so what a surprise there, I suppose. But as mentioned, Gio rejoins in 13th place as he tries to hunt down Sergio Perez, who at the same time is coming up to one of the Saubers, who I believe is Pascal Wehrlein. And so hopefully Gio is hoping that Wehrlein can actually hold Perez up so he can get that little bit closer to the Force India there. As you can see, the internal combustion engine is still on yellow. It's about 59% I think that says. Like I said before, Antonio isn't worried too much about the yellow at the moment. He'll probably worry about it either next race or the race after in Russia. So yeah, so he's not worried about it at the moment, so he's still going to continue to push as we go through into the left-hander. And as you can see there, Wehrlein locks up heavily to the point where he actually backs up me and Perez up, and to the point where Gio is now actually going to have a look at Perez. He makes a little bit of contact with his wheel there and loses it on the curb just a little bit there as they now come down the straight. He's actually got DRS on Perez, so he's going to flick that on. Is he going to make the move stick? I think he's a little bit too far back, but even saying that, Perez is having to go up Wehrlein into the hairpin. Gio breaks a little bit late. He's going to have to avoid them, so he's going to have to make the dive bomb, and he goes wide and he makes contact with Wehrlein. Perez gets back through, and as a result of making contact with Wehrlein, Giovinazzi has lost an end plate, so he's going to be struggling with less front end downforce as a result, so he's going to have to turn in a lot more sharper than what he would do if he had that piece of front wing. But now we skip on to the end of lap 12, and as you can see, Pascal Wehrlein still behind, Perez still a little bit in front. Giovinazzi still struggling to close up due to the fact that he's lost a little bit of front wing. As you can see there, he went a little bit wide coming out the exit of the last corner there, but you see some people in the pits, it lifts Giovinazzi into 10th place. I believe it was Sainz and Hulkenberg that came into the pits there, so Gio is now into a points playing position in 10th place, and he's got Sergio Perez's teammate Esteban Ocon right behind him. So at the moment Giovinazzi is in a Force India sandwich, so he'll be able to try and fend off Ocon as best as he can. But now as we come around the left-hander and through the right, we've got a yellow flag for some reason right behind, and it's Nico Hulkenberg, who has just retired for the race. So he's only just made a pit stop, let's not forget, and Hulkenberg now retires from the race for some reason. So we're now down to 71 as a result. As you can see, his dot on the mini-map there is parked up just on the straight before you turn into that left-hander, before you reach the DRS detection zone. So he must have had some form of mechanical problem. But now we skip on to the end of lap 14 as we now come around the final corner. And again, Gio's still in 10th, as it looks like we've got another retirement, because the amount of drivers that are still in the race have dropped to 16. And it is Carlos Sainz Jr., the other guy that came into the pits as well, has also retired. So yeah, they seem to be dropping like flies right now. We've obviously got less people in the race than what we had in Australia. So yeah, the retirement rate seems to be worse here in China. I mean, obviously it is a test of speed around here, so engine wear is very high, as you saw with Giovinazzi's yellow internal combustion engine. So I wonder if Hulkenberg and Sainz's problems have anything related to the engine. But now as we're coming around the final corner, coming to the bottom right, apparently Gio's teammate Romain Grosjean is into the pits, and as you can see there is a dot. I do believe that is Grosjean, and yes it is. So Gio is actually going to move up into 9th place as a result, so that's 2 championship points as a result. His teammate comes out in 10th, just in front of Esteban Ocon. So 9th to 12th is a mixture of Force Indias and Haas's as a result, with Perez 8th, Gio 9th, Grosjean 10th, and Ocon in 11th. Ocon all over the backside of Gio, but it looks like Gio's going to get away that easily. But now we skip on to the end of lap 17. And as you can see, Grosjean is actually closing up quite a bit now, due to the fact that Giovinazzi is losing a little bit of downforce on the front wing. As you can see, somebody else is into the pits, and it's the Williams of Felipe Massa. So another position gained for Antonio Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi up into 8th place as a result, but still losing time to Perez thanks to that downforce. The first sector seems to be okay for Antonio, but the rest of the course, especially that left-hander which you're supposed to take flat, Gio's unable to do so thanks to the lack of downforce, and as a result he loses time and allows rivals behind, such as teammate Grosjean, to catch up to him. And here's an example I'm talking about. Look, he's having to live through there, and all of that, look, is allowing Grosjean to get up close, and even to the point where he's now right on the back side of Antonio Giovinazzi's rear end as they now come through the double left-hander, and even Gio here has to lift off, and he doesn't lift off enough because he goes wide. Grosjean could take advantage of this. Grosjean looks to the inside. Gio tries to break that a little bit later just to fight a little bit with Grosjean, but it doesn't work out. Grosjean takes 8th, and Gio drops down to 9th place as a result. He wants to have a look at DRS, but like before, the understeer kicks in and he loses time to Grosjean on the straight to the point where he's unable to get him with DRS. But now we skip on to the end of lap 22, and now it's Massa's turn to have an attack on Antonio Giovinazzi, and well, Gio's race has gone for a nightmare so far because, well, his front wing is causing him a lot of strain. As we now come down the straight, Gio's going to go a little bit defensive. Massa will have a look to the outside. The Mercedes engine, obviously quicker than the Ferrari engine, down the straight as they now break for the hairpin. Gio's going to break that a little bit later now then, and he keeps hold of 9th place for the time being. Massa has to still stay in 10th place as they now come up towards the final corner. They're about to start lap 23 of the race. Is Giovinazzi and Massa as they continue to battle it out for P9, and as you can see there, the split time for Giovinazzi well down as a result of the problems that he's got so far. 6 laps to go in this race, and even the tyres are starting to cause a little bit of trouble as well. 55% on the front left, but as you can see now, Massa finds a gap down the inside into turn 2. He's going to have a little look. Gio's going to have to give him the space, nearly close to contact down at turn 3 to go side by side through turn 4. Gio giving Massa the space, but Gio looks like he's just got enough momentum to keep hold of 9th place for the time being. He breaks a little bit later to ensure he stays in front, goes wide, a tad wide, but he stays in front of Massa thanks to extra traction and keeps hold of 9th place for the time being. But yet again, through this left-hander, he's having to lift off. He just cannot seem to go flat out as a result, and it brings Massa back into play to try and take that position off. As I come around the double left-hander, is Gio going to ensure he doesn't go wide this time like he did on the like when Grosjean passed him? And no, he doesn't. So Massa stays behind for the time being. Massa's probably going to have to wait for DRS yet again as they come around at the left-hander close to the DRS detection. There you go, we've just gone past it now as they now go swooping around the right-hander. Is Massa now going to get Giovinazzi down this straight? He's getting closer and closer. Gio went wide there. His exit of the corner was absolutely poor as they now come down the straight heading in towards the hairpin. Massa's going to have a look to the right-hand side. Gio defends a little bit late. As a result, Massa's already on the inside and takes 8th place, but 9th place, sorry, but Gio is having none of it. He's going to break that a little bit later, hangs it around the outside and keeps hold of 9th place. This is all he has to do really at this moment. It's the only option that he's got if he wants to defend positions, is to be a little bit more aggressive, and as a result, he's doing a good job at the moment, fending off from Felipe Massa as they move on onto lap 24 of the race. So these two have been battling for about a couple of laps now as they go through in towards turn 1. And Giovinazzi's probably going to have trouble going into this corner. And yes, he's left a gap on the inside. Is Massa going to take advantage? Massa's alongside him. They wheel bang in towards turn 3 there. And Giovinazzi's still in front, just like he was on the previous lap. So Giovinazzi there, keeping all that 9th place, but Massa, just like on the previous couple of laps, not going to give up and wants to try again if he can, as Gio comes out of the hairpin and in towards the corner, which has been causing him so much trouble ever since he lost the end plate from Pascal Wehrlein. As now they go through the left-hander, Massa gets that a little bit closer. Gio goes wide in towards that right-hander. Massa fancies himself. He looks to the outside. Gio has the inside covered and keeps hold of 9th place there as they go through that other left-hander down this little run before heading in towards the left-hander before you reach the DRS detection zone. Massa doesn't even think about a lunge going through into that corner. Gio gets a little bit of oversteer as they go through into that corner, and the understeer is kicking into the point where Gio is actually caught on the curve. Massa can try and take advantage of this. Massa goes side by side with Giovinazzi, and as a result, Massa goes through into P9. But will Giovinazzi get him back down the straight, despite the fact that Massa will have DRS as a result of being within 1 second behind Gio within the DRS detection zone, as they now go up towards the hairpin. Gio has a little look, but he's just too far back, and Massa moves up into 9th place. So now Gio has to hold on to that solitary point as he gets a little bit of oversteer coming out of the hairpin there. And well, Gio's race has been going from bad to worse. He's still within the target, but so far his teammates are pacing him this weekend. And well, it's probably going to be 1-1 in terms of the levels, in terms of the scores between Grosjean and Giovinazzi in each race. But as we come to the end of the race on lap 28, it's actually going to be Sebastian Vettel who won the Chinese Grand Prix. So both Ferrari drivers winning in the first 2 races. Giovinazzi, on the other hand, had enough of a gap between himself and Esteban Ocon, to the point where Esteban didn't have enough time to close up. So Giovinazzi is actually going to finish in 10th place for one solitary point, and it could have been a lot more in my opinion had it not been for the loss of the M plate there. Could have been a lot more for Antonio.
So, another excellent win from Ferrari. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
See, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
So confirmation of the result of the Chinese Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel won the race with teammate Kimi Räikkönen second, Lewis Hamilton rounding off the podium in third, Verstappen fourth, Bottas fifth, Ricciardo sixth, teammate Grosjean seventh, Perez eighth, Massa ninth, and Gio of course rounding out the top 10. So another double points finish for Grosjean and Giovinazzi, same position as Australia except it's the other way around, Gio in 10th and Grosjean in 7th this time around, where it was Gio 7th and Grosjean 7th in Australia. In the Drivers' Championship, Vettel and Räikkönen tied on 43 points, Vettel in front according to the game, Hamilton's in third, Bottas fourth, me and Gio and Grosjean are tied on points. In the Constructors' Championship, Haas is still in fourth, but Williams, Force India and Toro Rosso snapping at their heels, with McLaren, Renault and Sauber still yet to score as a result. So Haas still keep on the fourth place after another double points finish, but Giovinazzi and Grosjean are now tied on points as a result, as we're now going to get our resource points, see what our status is like with the team, how we're doing against Romain Grosjean, what our career score is, and that will be that. So guys, that has been it from the Chinese Grand Prix. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry for the episode being short, but obviously technical problems beyond our control because of what the PS4 was up to. But that's been it then, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next time for the Bahrain Grand Prix, but until then, I've been JWF1 and thank you for watching. Till then, take care.